What is behind President-elect Donald Trump's seeming obsession with the Panama Canal? He's threatened in recent weeks to take back the canal, once controlled by the United States, by force if necessary. So our colleague Phil Mattingly went to the Central American country to find out what this is really all about. And he spoke to the man who ran the canal for nearly a decade and says Trump is spreading lies.
This is the Panama Canal, a 51-mile corridor linking the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Its creation helped the United States become a global superpower.
Most people don't get access to this, but what you're standing on top of right now, it's a modern marvel. It is an engineering miracle. Only twice in the history of the Panama Canal has transit actually stopped. It's that invaluable to world trade, to the world economy, to geopolitics in general. It also underscores why any president, President-elect Trump being one of them, cares so deeply about its operations.
Now, Trump's interest in the Panama Canal, it makes a lot of sense. It's 4% of global shipping. That's what comes through here on an annual basis. 40% of U.S. containers come through this waterway. But what people here unequivocally do not understand is why, after 25 years of smooth operations under Panama's control, all of a sudden Trump is threatening to take it back and refusing to rule out using military force to do so.
The Panama Canal is a disgrace.
He's railed against how the canal is being run and China's growing influence around the waterway.
They charge more for our ships than they charge for ships of other countries. They charge more for our Navy than they charge for navies of other countries. They laugh at us because they think we're stupid. But we're not stupid anymore. China's at both ends of the Panama Canal. China's running the Panama Canal.
I asked the man who was in charge of the canal for 7 years, Jorge Luis Quijano, about those claims.
Does the canal charge U.S. ships more than others?
No.
Does the canal charge the U.S. Navy more than others?
No.
Are there Chinese troops operating in the canal?
No.
Does Beijing or the Chinese Communist Party operate the canal?
Definitely no.
Trump's current Panama fixation has left officials here perplexed and frustrated, but also cognizant of the former real estate magnate's roots in the country, long before his turn to politics.
Well, my interest in Panama really began when we had the Miss Universe contest in Panama, which I own. I own the Miss Universe, and it was one of the most successful contests we've ever had.
Not all of his business dealings in Panama have been a success.
There's a complicating factor for Panamanian officials trying to figure out what the president-elect actually wants here. And that starts right here, because this building is the tallest building in Central America, and it is a building that used to be known as the Trump International Tower and Hotel, also home of the Trump Ocean Club. Now, it is neither.
The gleaming 70-floor resort marked Trump's first international hotel venture, a massive project, mired by mountains of litigation and confrontation that led to the removal of Trump's name from the property, halfway through his first term in the White House. As for Trump's attack on the terrible deal that set in motion the U.S. handover of the canal and its surrounding zone to Panama, that's rooted in an even longer-standing preoccupation.
Jimmy Carter gave the Panama Canal away for nothing, zero. In other words, they said, we want the canal. He said, oh, okay, even though we spent the equivalent of many billions of dollars to build it.
Now, Trump is calling for Panama to reduce the tolls and rates U.S. ships pay to transit the canal, or else.
That was one of our dredges working on it.
I put that to Ilia Espina de Marota, Deputy Administrator of the canal.
You know, one of the things that you hear from people in the United States is, well, just all Trump wants is you just cut the rates a little bit for U.S. ships, or make some adjustments there just for U.S. ships. Is that a plausible option?
It's not a possible option.
Why not?
Because of the treaties.
The same treaties Trump rails against mandate equal treatment of all vessels. No U.S. carve-outs. Trump has also ignored that the canal today is far bigger than the one handed over by the United States.
There was an expansion.
Yes.
The U.S. government played what role in the expanded version?
Okay. As far as financially, none.
More than half of the revenue that comes in from the Panama Canal doesn't come in through the one that the United States was integral in building. It comes in through the expansion.
That's right. This is the Atlantic side. Which
Lorota led the massive $5.2 billion project, which dramatically expanded the size of cargo ships that can traverse the canal.
So when President-elect Trump says he wants to take the canal back, do you guys get to keep the one you did?
No.
But this is what I don't
No. We get to keep everything.
Phil Mattingham at the Panama Canal, CNN.
My panel is back. First of all, I just how much did you all learn from that?
A lot.
This is what we're supposed to be doing in this business. I learned so much. Thank you so much to Phil for that. I know that you have been doing some reporting on going forward on the reality of the political reality here in Washington.
Yeah, just over the last few weeks, I had been talking to sources because Panama has become so integral to the U.S. migration management strategy. We saw it with the Biden administration simply because it has the Darien Gap, which connects it with Colombia. It's a treacherous jungle. It's where migrants have crossed, and it has become, in the last 4 years, the barometer of what we're going to see at the U.S. southern border. You see people start crossing there in big numbers. You can bet that in a few weeks, you're going to see that here at the U.S. southern border. So that has become so important for this administration, and as well as the incoming administration, to try to work with that government. And this president, the Panamanian president, has indicated that he wants to go even harder on the Darien Gap. So sources I've been talking to in the incoming administration say they really see them as an ally. So this has really left them a little bit flummoxed.
And I just love how Phil pointed out and showed us how first of all, a lot of the things that Donald Trump claims about China's involvement is just not right. But more importantly, how this is not just something that he started talking about recently. This runs deep with him, and it all goes back to his experience as a builder and as a businessman.
Yeah, it's about him, which is no surprise for Trump. There is a lot of concern on Capitol Hill about China's economic inroads in Central America and South America. But the Republicans, even you talk to Republicans in the House and Senate, they don't know where Trump is going with this. You know, the idea, the threat of military action and everything, that's just, no one knows what he's talking about here. Like, you know, there is no support on Capitol Hill for military invasion of Panama to get back the Panama Canal. I mean, you know, but they're not going to say anything publicly to contradict Trump, but they're just flummoxed by this. They don't know where he's going, what the end game is here.
I think with all of these sort of imperialist gestures he's
Greenland,
making, you know, with Greenland, with Canada, all of these, there's a question is this a symbolic gesture, right? Is this about sort of bullying people and showing that America is strong again and toughness and strength? Or is there some kind of serious policy underpinning it? And that, I think, is the million-dollar question for the incoming administration. We're going to have to see what they actually do to put any meat on the bones of these sort of threats.
We are going to have to leave it there. Thank you all so much.